Well, this is Battle Above the Clouds, and I've had this on the table now for a better part of a month now. And I played through, I think, about 4 turns before I restarted the Chickamauga campaign. This is the Great Campaigns in the American Civil War series. This game came out 2009, I want to say. It's been out for a while. This is the first I've gotten it on the table. And it's the first time I played one of the really big campaigns. When I say big, I should say long campaigns. This one can go up to 40 turns. It's Bragg versus Rosecrans. What is that? 1863, September 1863. And the Union starts with just, I think, 1 pontoon bridge built, 1 under construction over the Tennessee River, just on the Alabama border. And then you're kind of at the confluence of Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia here. Chattanooga is kind of the linchpin of the operation, and the Confederates begin with their forces kind of strung out along, in the historic setup, I should say, kind of strung out along the Tennessee River off this direction. And so the Union has a couple turns of pretty much freedom of movement in this sector, right around Sand Mountain and the approaches to Lookout Mountain. However, the Confederates do have a strong position that they start up between the crest of the plateau and the bend of the river. And my goal as the Union was to force the Confederates to stretch their line in a way that would produce unfavorable combat situations. And so the Union has won every single engagement. The engagements have not been big. We haven't had like a Chickamauga yet. But there have been some fairly serious skirmishes. But the Union's bested the Confederates in every one of those except for one. Only one setback for the Union. And it's been kind of frustrating for the Confederacy because not only do they keep... It seems like they win initiative rolls with them, but then when it comes to battle, the Union seems to always roll higher and come out on top. So for the Confederacy, they kind of got stretched in this direction. It may be hard to see on the video, but there is an important railroad line that is their supply route, and it kind of comes along this way and then into Chattanooga. We moved the supply base for the Confederacy to the county seat here at, which is that, Ringgold. And so I've got the depot set up there. That's where their supply wagons are. Supply is a problem for the Confederacy, but they're withdrawing closer to their supply line. It's getting harder for the Union to supply its units. As you can see, several of Crittenden's, 2 of his 3 divisions are currently out of supply, and there's a caravan of wagon trains moving up to the depot located on the other side of Lookout Mountain. Ideally, I need to set up a new depot on the other side of Lookout Mountain, but not so far forward as to endanger the depot itself from raids. So it's getting harder for the Union to maintain its offensive, is what I'm trying to say. The Confederacy, meanwhile, they're slowly having to turn like they're having to kind of hinge their way this way in order to shield their supply base, and at the same time try to prevent the Union from enveloping them. The Union doesn't have quite enough strength on hand to get really good leverage on any of the isolated Confederate units. Polk's corps is set up here and here, basically along this line. This is from here to here is pretty much Thomas's corps. He's got the largest for the Union, and then McCook has a force here and a detached division here. Granger is kind of supporting the Union cavalry by having a position here and here, and the rest of this is cavalry and supply wagons. There is D.H. Hill. He's got his corps kind of strung out this way, kind of in a big arc like so, and the rest is just a cavalry screen. Basically, you just got Polk, you got D.H. Hill, and Walker. Walker's Confederate corps is located just kind of along this line with some cavalry and support to serve as a screen. I went ahead and sent Forrest across the river, and the reason I did that is I feel like I've been wasting him watching the mounted brigade, I think it's Mounted Infantry Brigade. The Wilder Brigade is on the other side of the Tennessee. They're kind of entrenched and actually out of supply. I forgot to put a marker on him. He is definitely out of supply, and they'll need to forage this turn. And so I went ahead and detached two cavalry brigades under Forrest, thinking I might be able to get at one of the supply wagons that was on the far side of the Tennessee and kill it before the Union could respond to it, because basically the Confederates were on a roll winning initiative die rolls. Unfortunately for the Confederacy, they lost the next two die rolls once they got across the river, and the wagons were able to mate up with a detached brigade from Crittenden, which probably Forrest should not attempt to assault. And at any rate, it would take a couple of activation cycles to set up an assault on that brigade. Probably not a wise use of Forrest. So I think I might just keep him on that side of the river, work him around, and see if I can't interrupt the main supply route and force the Union to detach some meaningful cavalry to deal with him in the rear. In other words, as long as there's this much space between the front lines and the main supply railhead, which is located on the far side of the Tennessee, I might as well use Forrest in a better manner. And then I do have one more cavalry brigade that's been detached. They'll have to forage for supply this turn. Didn't have quite enough supply points for them, but they can kind of watch the Wilder brigade and at least serve as a screen to the back door of the Confederate supply depot. Now, the main problem for the Confederacy is numbers and supply. And supply you can forage for, and I feel like they can get that. That's less of a problem for them than numbers. They keep winning initiative results, but haven't gotten a successful attack. And frankly, that just kind of saps your confidence that you can set up a quality attack on maybe an isolated force like McCook is just kind of hanging out here with Sheridan and another brigade, and they're just right there. Feel like it's a big juicy target to get some flanking die roll modifiers on and do them some harm, but just lost so many battles, and I'm giving points to the Union when they take those losses. So in this particular game, the victory points for losses is higher for Confederate losses than for Union losses. So I'm trying to keep losses down. Now, where's Longstreet? Let's come over here to the, I'm just going to turn this off, make it a little bit easier to see. All right, so let's come over here to the strategic display. And basically what we have is Burnside's army is the army of, not the army of the Cumberland, but maybe the army of Tennessee. Anyways, Burnside's kind of located here. This is primarily cavalry in the mountain gap here. This is primarily infantry, a couple divisions located just beyond the mountains. There's I think a division located here or is that a brigade? That might be a brigade. Yeah, it's a brigade that looks like he's a big juicy target, but because of his strong position, it's actually a formidable thing to attack. It's kind of dicey. So I have not attacked that. It's just been a lot of shadow boxing on the strategic map, and you can only engage on this every 4 turns. There is a division of Buckner, located here just off the main map, and a sizable force of infantry and cavalry in Knoxville itself. A little bit too strong maybe to attack. So it's kind of a stalemate, a standoff. But the rail line between Virginia and the main theater over here has been cut by the Union force there, which is a problem, of course. I keep rolling the random event that causes the Confederate reinforcements to be delayed by 1 turn, and so this has just been absolutely brutal. You've got a detached understrength division from Polk coming up from Mississippi, only 3 strength points, but just having another division on hand, I could detach some units from his 2 very strong divisions that are already on the map, attaching them to him. Just having one more strong unit can be very helpful to set up the kinds of attacks that are successful in the system and that are successful historically. So it need to get those guys in theater, and they just keep getting, every turn they're about to come, they get delayed again. And I forget how many times I've rolled a 10 for that delay. Anyways, so you have Law and what is that? Kershaw coming up with Longstreet. but we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 more turns before Law shows up, 5, 6, 7, before Longstreet shows up, and they're going to show up over here. All I have to say this. I probably should have sent Longstreet's corps through Georgia. It would have taken more time on the turn track, but at least they would have appeared here where they are most needed. I don't see how much longer I can keep the Union from gaining control of some valuable counties. Like this county here, county seat is located here. I think that's Walker County. They're going to lose that one. The counties that are valuable for VPs are basically, I think it's Walker, this one here, was that Catooga, Whitfield. Once they start to kind of get around this corner, it's going to force the Confederates to pull back lest they get enveloped and their supplies be cut off, and that would become a serious problem if they couldn't bring supplies by rail to that railhead. That would be a big disaster. So through maneuver, Rosecrans is doing a great job of forcing the Confederates to relentlessly move backwards and really not contest strongly the Union advance. So the Union is advancing slowly but steadily. If I were to continue the game, it's becoming increasingly difficult to see how the Confederates are going to turn this around without getting Longstreet into this area or winning significant victories on the more abstract strategic display. But even what's lost here, the Union's going to get more strength points on before Longstreet even shows up. So I really don't want to use Longstreet on that map. But we're, coming up to the halfway mark of the campaign, and he's not even going to be in theater. I don't think he's going to be in theater in time to fight the historic Battle of Chickamauga, and the Confederates are already kind of along Chickamauga Creek. So I think the Union's probably going to win this one. I've got some new games that I really want to get on the table, so I'm thinking I might wrap this one up early. It's been a really fun and eye-opening look at this particular campaign, especially in light of what I've read about the campaign. It's just it's really useful to play this system and then read one of the accounts of this campaign. You can really picture in your mind by having some experience with this map as you read the text. It's pretty useful. So this is a great system. I love this system. I'd actually like to play some of the shorter scenarios from this that plunge you right into the action. But the campaign is very helpful because it provides some context to all of the maneuvering and fighting. And so if I continue it on, I'll probably continue a few more turns. I'm still waiting for a shipment to come in. There's a game I really want to get on the table, and it's en route. So when it gets here, I want to get that on the table. It's the new one from GMT about China, Flashpoint, South China Sea or something like that. I really want to get that on the table. So in the meantime, I'm going to continue to play this. But I thought I'd shoot a video because I haven't done many videos for my channel, and I haven't done many in particular on this particular game. But I think it might be interesting to see what the next two turns or so bring as the Union's supply lines have been stretched, and see how difficult is it now for Rosecrans to keep feeding the troops using wagons. It's going to take a couple turns. It takes about 2 days to get wagons from the end of the railroad to that supply depot. And the reason you want to use the depots is because they have a much longer range to impart supply points to the divisions that need it. Each supply point can supply one division. You got a 15 hex range, 5 of which are more flexible in terms of what terrain that path can cross. When you've got wagons, they can only extend out 5 hexes. So supplying by wagons alone is not an efficient way to feed the troops. So you really want to establish depots and then start a bucket brigade of supply points. But they get 12 supply points every turn, so they have a surplus to work with. The thing that could turn that tide would be if Forrest got into here. That could be problematic. That could get really exciting. And because in the Grand Campaign, whenever you roll for the activation cycle, when you roll for initiative, if you roll Snake Eyes, there's a good chance the turn ends right there, whether you want it to or not. it's almost like a back-to-back pass. And so I've seen, probably 6 of those in the 13 turns that we played. So it seems like a higher percentage than I would have expected of turns that have ended on a Snake Eyes roll, and then Rosecrans failing to extend. And in a couple places, both Rosecrans and Bragg attempted to extend for various reasons and failed. So you can have those kinds of things happen that really can screw up your supply plans. And so it could get really exciting if Forrest got in there. Of course, he's going to have to forage, and so eventually he can't linger back there forever. He'll get hunted down, trapped, and killed, and you don't want that to happen because he's got the best cavalry on the Confederate side. So he couldn't stay back there forever, but he could disrupt things enough to cause Rosecrans a real headache here, and maybe give Bragg some breathing space. One last thought. Do have another reinforcement coming in. Oh, that's right. The other reason why I need this guy to come in is when he comes in, he's going to bring Johnston in. And so Braxton Bragg would be no more. He would be relieved, and Johnston would take over. And that will solve the insubordination problem. There's been times when the Confederates want to attack, have a good opportunity to, but they are dealing with insubordinate units and they won't attack. So getting Johnston on the scene would help with that as well. Well, this is just another look at Battle Above the Clouds. Just kind of give you a summary of the game so far, and just how much fun I've had playing it. Haven't had a whole lot of time to play games this summer because I've been up in the mountains a lot in my free time, and but this is a fantastic system. I see Multiman Publishing has On to Richmond, a reprint, which is more than just On to Richmond. Basically, it's a dual package. It's On to Richmond and Grant Takes Command in one package for like $165, which is a big chunk of change, but you're getting 2 big games out of that. That's a great deluxe package, and overall, I think that's a great price for it. So heartily recommend you go and pre-order that. I can't say enough good things about this system. Really enjoy it. It's probably, in my opinion, next to ASL, this is Multiman Publishing's finest product. So outstanding stuff here. Joel Tappan. Hope you enjoy the video. Have a great day.